Good evening, guys. Thank you for coming to the January 24, 2023 business meeting. You can please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance. Thank you so much. We are joined tonight by 6 of our trustees, our superintendent of schools, Dr. Timothy Harney, our assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction, Dr. Theodore Fulton, our interim assistant superintendent for business and finance, Mr. Luis Montero, our district legal counsel, Mr. Edward McCarthy, our district clerk, Ms. Suzanne Benetti, and our student rep, as always, Ms. Emily Denton. There are 2 opportunities for the community to participate during the Board of Ed meeting. The first is just before the board takes up its agenda, and the second follows the disposition of all agenda items. As always, if you would like to speak, we ask that you come to the podium. Please state your name. If you're from Baywater Blue Point, you must be from the community in order to speak. If not, we must be voting by majority vote of the board. We ask that you keep those comments to approximately 3 minutes. And as always, the Board of Ed meetings are always live streamed and posted thereafter to the board docs. And if you'd like to follow Dr. Harney on Twitter, please follow him at BBP Soup or the district at BBP Schools. At this time, we'd open it up to the community for any new or old business. Not seeing any, we'll pass over to Dr. Harney for a superintendent report. Dr. Harney?
Hey, thanks, Mr. Miller. I appreciate it. Just a couple of things for you tonight, Senator. Maybe a little bit of a repeat from last week, but just some quick updates for you. First is I'd like to commend the jazz night that we had last Thursday night. It was both our middle school students and our high school students. They did an outstanding job. That was it really was a lot of fun to listen to. And then just a couple of things from the last time is I've been asked a couple of times about the school calendar. It looks like we're going to have that on. I'm hoping to have it on or provided to the Board of Ed on February 7th, which is our next Board of Ed meeting. As I mentioned last time, we're currently looking at starting after Labor Day, where we'd probably have 2 superintendent's conference days, that Tuesday, Wednesday, and then the students would be that Thursday. And really the only thing different with the calendar going forward for next year is, for the first time in about 6 or 7 years, Passover and Easter are separated, so there are 2 separate breaks from them. We're also trying to coincide with Eastern Suffolk BOCES like we always do as well. Also, where this year the school year ends on a Friday, next year it's the following Wednesday, so the school year was, I don't want to say it's extended, but it's gone a couple extra days. So that way, we'll hopefully have that for everyone at the February meeting. I don't know if there's any questions from the board, but I will make sure you have that. Okay. Then just a couple other things as we have coming on is hopefully that you'll come down. I'm sure Ms. Dent will talk about it, but we have the high school musical, which she'll be performing in, so we're looking forward to that. That is going to be on the Senior Citizen Show is on the 9th, that Wednesday, and then there are shows on 10th, the 11th, and the 12th. So please make sure you get your tickets and come on down. As you may have heard, or you may have seen letters from Dr. Fulton, we have the UPK. We've been asking for people to register if they're interested in the lottery. That lottery is still going to be held right now on February 6th, so you're aware. Dr. Fulton will get you all that information if you have registered. As of Friday, we had 88 interested students, and we still have the same number of seats as we did last year, where we have 54 which are in-house, and then we have 10 that would be with our CBO. So that's still in place. And then really the last thing I have, over the last, I guess, 2 weeks, I've had some inquiries, both myself, Brian Cordes, our Director of Transportation, Dr. Fulton, and actually Mr. Frontiera, in regards to transportation and have to deal with child care facilities. So we've been doing some work also with our legal counsel, and one of the things that would have to place if we were to make any type of changes, we've been informed that we'd have to do some form of policy. So I guess my real question is to the board, is this something that you'd like me to bring to the policy committee going forward in regards to transportation Because we have to look at everything. We have to really take a look and meet with Mr. Cordes about, what would it actually mean? What would it fully encompass? So I'll open up that to the board.
Thank you, Dr. Harney. I would just recommend to the board that we do send this to the policy unless any trustees have any concerns by doing that. Thank you so much, Dr. Harney. Appreciate your update.
So just so people are aware, and especially if there's anybody out there listening, it would go to the policy committee. I'm not sure off the top of my head when our next meeting is. It would go there. And then obviously if there was any changes to a policy, if we were to do anything, recommendations from the policy committee would follow the same thing. It would go through the normal 2 reads at 2 board meetings. So it would follow the same procedure as all of our other policies, just so that everyone's aware of it.
Thank you so much. Moving on to our student rep, Ms. Denton.
Thank you. Dr. Harney, I promise this is with the utmost respect, but the senior citizen show is actually on the 8th, and free performances are on the 9th, 10th, and 11th. I just wanted to clarify just in case.
I am getting a little bit old.
It's okay, it's okay. So I guess I'll start with that. SpongeBob the Musical will be hitting the BBP stage on February 9th, 10th, and 11th. The show times are at 7 p.m. each night, and there's a 2 p.m. matinee on Saturday. High school students will receive half-price admission on Thursday, and elementary school and middle school students will receive half-price admission during the matinee performance on Saturday. But good evening, and thank you again for having me. I have lots of news to share from almost all of the buildings this week. In regards to the high school, last Friday concluded the second marking quarter of the year. The first half of the school year is officially completed, and the second half is underway. Report cards will be available on Parent Portal next Monday, January 30th at 3 p.m., and any student who is scheduled for semester course should take note of the schedule changes taking place this week on the portal. High school administration, guidance, and support staff will be working with students in regards to the Lifesaver presentation on January 30th. There will be an in-person and live stream presentation for parents regarding the content of David Hinowitz's presentation this Wednesday at 7 p.m. in the auditorium. The high school PTSA is holding a Valentine's Day raffle for 18 roses from Baby Flower Houses with a retail value of $129.99. The tickets are $7 each. Tickets can be purchased by Venmoing at BBPHS-PTSA. The Ecology Club is holding a crayon drive, and crayons of any condition can be brought to room 109 for donation. The drive will run until tomorrow, January 25th. PSI Love You Day is February 10th this year. PSI Love You Day is celebrated to shed light on the importance of mental health awareness and decreasing bullying. Community members are encouraged to wear purple to show support and create a supportive environment. The BBP Interact Club is holding a PSI Love You Day art contest to promote mental health awareness, and the theme is level of your chapters. The student who best fulfills the theme will receive a $25 gift card, and all submissions are being used to purchase and is received over February 6th. SEPTA's district-wide Rock Your Sock celebration has returned to promote awareness, inclusion, and acceptance for physical impairments wearing the most fun pair of socks on January 27th. The class of 2023 is running a fundraiser to help fund their senior activities. They are selling BBP Carlton sweatshirts. They retail for $55 and will be available for purchase all the way up until February 13th. The class of 2025 is running a $10 pizza kit fundraiser through the pizzeria, and orders are due by February 5th. As for the middle school, late winter sports have begun, and middle school students will be competing in wrestling, volleyball, and basketball. Congratulations to all of the middle school students whose artwork was on display at the Catherine C. Art Gallery in Stable last week. On January 27th, the middle school will be holding Career Day for the 7th and 8th grade students. Students will rotate through a variety of different careers. The Phantom Challenge Junior is back. Phantom Challenge Junior packets are available in the main office, and the Connect Ed went out last night with more information. Mr. Andrews is happy to field any other questions. The Wellness Club students celebrated Compliments Day yesterday. Students and staff were encouraged to go all out with praise. The power of compliment is amazing. Giving or receiving is bound to increase happiness and confidence. From the Wellness Club to the Board of Ed, thank you for all of your hard work and all that you do for the BBP community. As for Sylvan Avenue Elementary, the UPK students will be celebrating Blues Day on Monday, Snowman Day on Tuesday, and Hidden Day on Thursday. This week, they kicked off the Greatness Kindness Challenge. Social worker Sarah Post introduced it at Sylvan. It began with Assembly on Monday and Spirit Days Tuesday through Friday. Students created kindness checklists and will receive tokens throughout the week for acts of kindness. Third graders are holding a supply drive for the Little Shelter Rescue and Adoption Center in Huntington. They are collecting many pet supplies for the shelter, and donations will be accepted through January 31st. Congratulations to Everly Arena, Bryce Jarity, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce the last name, Ellie Welch, Grace Tomasino, Tyler Johnson, and Salvatore Michelizzi for having their artwork showcased at the Captain Seating Table. And finally, as for Bluewood Elementary, they also kicked off the Great Kindness Challenge this week. All 3 buildings are participating, and their social worker has also set up Spirit Days and Kindness Charities for the students typically throughout the week. Blue Point Elementary would like to thank Fur Cheese Satellite Pizza and the Pizzeria and Bakery for offering 15% off for home nights. They love building connections within the community, and if any other restaurants or businesses would like to participate, they can contact Mrs. Velasco. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Denton. That was great as always. We'll turn it over to Dr. Harney so we can introduce, we have a special guest with us here tonight, our Food Service Manager, Ms. Christine Hall. Dr. Harney.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. We have 2 presentations for you tonight. The first one will be Mrs. Hall, who's going to give you really an update on what's going on in the food services world. She's been doing a lot of great things, so we want to share it with everybody tonight. So first of all, thanks, Ms. Hall, for coming out tonight. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. For those who don't know me, again, my name is Christine Hall. I am the school nutrition, the school lunch manager for food and nutrition, and wanted to touch base with you all tonight about what we provide in our school lunch program. As some of you may know, we do review and renew the wellness policy at our district periodically, and much of what we discuss has to do with food and nutrition. So our chairperson, Tim Mullins, thank you, Tim, has thought it was a nice idea for me to come here and give you all a quick update on what we've been doing in our program. Some of you may be aware that the requirements to hold this position probably over the past 8 or 10 years have changed, and you need to hold a nutrition science degree or a culinary degree. And fortunately for Bayport Blue Point, I happen to be a registered dietitian, so a lot of what we do here is what I do at home and what I follow at home. It's a passion of mine, and you know, I'm happy to be able to provide those things to the students. With that being said, some of the things that we discuss in our wellness policy, just some bullet points here for you guys to see. Providing healthy, balanced meals to the students on a daily basis, encouraging fresh fruit and vegetables. When I first got here, I wound up making sure that we were part of the Department of Defense Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program, and it's part of our government commodities so that we are able to provide the students with fresh fruit and vegetables on a daily basis. We involve students and parents in the wellness committee. We have parents on our committee, and we actually met today. We're talking about having some student representation on our wellness committee, which I think is a great idea. We promote lifelong healthy eating and proper nutrition, nutrition education, and physical activity. We always introduce and encourage new foods on our menu, and trying new recipes and things like that, which I'll get into, all while maintaining state and federal guidelines for all food in school. Obviously, we have to maintain, because we're part of the National School Lunch Program, we have to maintain and provide all these components to the students on a daily basis. And that includes whole grains, it includes meat and meat alternatives, so that could be chicken or beef, eggs, it could be yogurt, like a meat alternative. So we also provide different types of milk, 1%, 2%, and skim milk, fruit and vegetables on a daily basis. Now, because we're part of the National School Lunch Program, the students have to take 3 of those 5 components for it to be considered a reimbursable meal and for us to get reimbursement from the state and federal level. So with all of that, and while we are providing all of those components, we're still able to do some of the things that I get excited about, because of my background, we're able to provide more home-to-school cooking and meals made from scratch. Some of the items that we get from our government are a raw product, like ground beef, for example. So we're able to make some things from scratch, which I'm happy about, again, and I feel like it's better than having something that's prepackaged or pre-made. So some of the other things, organic items, I've been getting in because I do talk to parents a lot of the time about the different things that they might want to see on the menu, or about our food items. Some of them ask for organic items. So at times I do get, and I'm able to get in some organic items. Again, fresh fruit and vegetables on a daily basis, home to school meals, which I'll get into in a second. We also do a lot of monotony breakers. So I'll talk about that in a second. I also like to encourage breakfast. Again, when I first got here, some of the things the students were having for breakfast, it made my skin crawl as a dietitian. So I was able to get some new things on the menu for the students. And when I talk about breakfast, the breakfast items that we offer for the students are mainly at the high school level because they're here earlier, and we are able to, because our staff is here earlier, we're able to provide some items earlier in the morning. But just know that I am working with some of the other schools, and this came up most recently in our wellness committee, and because there is a need, we're talking about providing some breakfast items in the at the elementary level as well as the middle school. So, that's coming down in the near future. One of the other things that will be coming out in the near future that some of the parents ask me about are either plant-based items or vegetarian or vegan items. I found a vendor of ours that's really excited about this product. I don't know if anyone's ever tried it, but it's the Impossible line. And it is a plant-based product that we have in-house. We just didn't start it yet, but we will do a taste testing with the students in the near future. We have what would mimic a ground beef, and we have chicken nuggets to try. So you guys will see that soon. So some of the other things that we offer on a daily basis are fresh fruit and vegetables. Obviously, I said that. We offer low sodium, low fat foods. Our deli bar at the high school is all Boar's Head products, and they're all low sodium, which keeps in line with our regulations that we need to follow from the federal level. We also have a build your own salad bar, which I love also because the students can pick and choose what they want to add on it, whether it's a Boar's Head product or chickpeas, fresh tomatoes, cherry tomatoes, cucumbers, carrots, all those things. It's a really great option. Something that we do periodically, fresh fruit smoothies, which is a nice addition. We obviously offer whole grain products, fat-free milk, 1% milk, and our flavored milk is actually fat-free also, so we're keeping in line with those guidelines. We also do roasted chickpeas at times, which is a nice addition, and offering reduced fat and saturated fat items. Some of the things that we've done, and mainly at the high school and the middle school level for right now, but some at the elementary, just because we have more staff to be able to do these things, are fresh chili, our homemade chili we've done. Hummus, some of you may have seen our either our signs, or if you're working here, you get my emails about coming in for fresh hummus and vegetables. It's really good. Fresh fruit smoothies, again, we do. Chicken noodle soup, we are doing tomorrow for the students, and our cooks were making it today, so it's made from scratch. We also do, I talked about some monotony breakers. We do a Fresh Egg Friday. So normally the egg patties that we have are preformed patties, but we try to do, and it's not always on Friday, but it's usually on a Friday, but we try to do homemade eggs, scrambled eggs on an egg sandwich for the students, so they can, get something that's a little bit home to school cooking. So our meatball parm heroes are made from scratch. We've done fresh roasted turkey in the past. Most recently, I added on empanadas, and this is at the middle school and the high school. It's something new that we've been trying and introducing to the students, which sometimes it takes a few times for the students to really know that it's something that's really good. But I think the second and third time that we did it, we had, a better turnout. Our macaroni and cheese is also made from scratch. So just some items that you guys can get an idea of what we do for the students. So the other thing that I also focus on is our school lunch webpage. The school lunch webpage offers a lot of information for parents and as well as students. Our menu is there. Our menu is interactive, so if someone has a concern for carbohydrate or fat intake or sodium, you can hover over an item and you can see what the ingredients or what the components are. So you'll know, if you want to know the carb count of something. So all of the items on our webpage are interactive. The link is there. If this is shared with you, you can click on the link. In addition to the menus, we also have links to healthy eating, healthy guidelines. Most recently, we were talking in the Wellness Committee about BMI and what is a healthy BMI. So there's some articles in there about that. There's also links to other great websites that will give you some information about healthy eating and nutrition. So, if you haven't checked it out, you should really log in and take a look because there is a lot of information there. One of the things we did recently at the elementary schools, a monotony breaker, was the Taco Crispy Minis. And they polled the students to see who liked it, and they all raised their hands, so I thought it was really cute. We've also done, Chef Day, and most recently, one of the girls came up with something. We offer as one of our snacks a whole grain Pop-Tart, which we are going to showcase for Valentine's Day. I thought it was a cute idea that they came up with. So one of the other things that I kind of wanted to include just quickly is that I did a quick comparison of what our ADP is. The ADP, for those who don't know, is our average daily participation. And this is a number that I look at just to see how we're doing from month to month and from year to year. And that number, I always want to increase. Because I know, A, the students are eating, and they're eating healthier meals and, getting nourishment, but also, obviously, our bottom line. So it also helps to increase our reimbursement from the state and federal level. So here you can see in the blue, starting with the one all the way to the left, because it's not so clearly marked, but it goes from September, October, November, and December. And I compared our year from 2019 to this year because those were the two most traditional years that we've had since I've been here. So COVID really pushed us over the top with our average daily participation, which I was happy about also because all the meals were free. So we had probably quadruple the numbers. But even though our enrollment is down, you can see the blue, again, is 2019, from September, October, November, and December to now in the yellow, from September, October, November, and December. So, our average daily participation is creeping up, which I'm happy about, and knowing that, more kids are coming in and getting lunch. So, so I'm happy about that. And hopefully that will continue to go up. So, and all the time, we're still having fun. So, if anyone has any questions.
Any trustees with any questions?
Not a question, but just wanted to say thank you. I sit on the Wellness Committee along with Mrs. Cerrone and Mrs. Kane, and it's been a pleasure working with you and to see the care and love and passion you have for what you do. And so I just wanted to thank you for that, for the work you put into your presentation. And as the mom of a pretty picky eater who does get school lunch every day, thank you for what you do. You've got another hand over here. So just thank you as a trustee and as a mom.
Of course, thank you.
I also just wanted to thank you for the creativity that you put into caring for our children while keeping healthy living in mind. And also I'm just looking at the website that you've put together, and there's a wealth of information for students, teachers, and home, and including recipes that I'm going to try out. So thank you for that.
Yay, no, I'm glad, yes. I am in contact with the parents a lot. They do call me. I reach out to them on a monthly basis, minimum, with our menu and different things that we're doing. So, so that's good to hear. Thank you.
Any other trustees? Just want to say thank you so much, Ms. Hall. We appreciate it. You're a valued asset here at Bayport Blue Point. We're so lucky to have you. How about a round of applause? That's now we've all been waiting for our Assistant Superintendent of Finance and Operations with another budget update. Mr. Frontero said he'd be done in 10 minutes.
It's a tall order. Mine is not as delicious as what we just heard about. So. But it's all fun, believe me. I enjoy it at least. So somebody's got it. Welcome to Budget Workshop number 3. And tonight I promised to just touch a little bit on our tax cap review when I spoke on January 10th about it. I just want to review it quickly. And I'm going to go over some of the 23-24 proposed budget, certain expenditure sides of the budget in terms of some of the things we need to talk about. I'm going to cover everything that's on this agenda. I won't read it to you, but we will get to all of this, I promise, in 10 minutes or less. Okay. Of course, our district goals, these are the things that bring us to Bayport Blue Point every day, and part of our mission. It's part of every presentation that we make. So this is our timeline, and you can see we have 2 checks already because we've had 2 presentations. Tonight's the 24th. What I had hoped to do tonight, and as best laid plans, was I thought Albany would already have some information about state aid, but there's a couple of machinations going on in Albany. We don't know what's happening at the moment. My sources say we'll know something by February 1st. So knowing that, I decided to talk a little bit more about the expense side of the budget, and we'll circle back maybe on February 7th when I have some more information from the state, and we'll talk more about the revenue side of the budget when we get to that point. But we have a lot of things going on, as you can see, all the way down to May 2nd when we have our budget hearing, so it's really exciting, and stay tuned. It's definitely an open and transparent process. Everyone knows what we're doing and how we did it. In terms of recap, all I wanted to mention was when I presented this chart, which is our tax cap calculation, I mentioned on January 10th that I was assuming it would be a 2% cap because the CPI is higher than 2%, and it's the lower of one of those. Well, I have confirmation, and that's the reason I'm showing it now, that we have confirmation that it is indeed 2%, and that's what it's built around. And right now, based on the calculation, our tax levy can increase 3.94%, and we would be within the cap. In terms of, I know a question came up, there was concern on the board about the energy performance contract, because that is impacting on the budget itself, because I have to budget some debt service for next year. And the question was, could the EPC, the energy performance contract, be treated like a bond, and the money borrowed in segments? But as I find out, the $10,420,729, which is part of our EPC, which is essentially the total amount, has to be borrowed in one finance. So it's borrowed once, it's turned over to a third-party escrow agent, and as we begin to order pieces of the boilers and windows, etc., the money is released and so forth. So that's basically how it works. And if If we borrow, and we expect to perhaps be borrowing by the end of February, we can start to place orders for the windows and the boilers and such, and that will affect the 23-24 budget. And I already have the money for in the debt service for an interest payment, interest only, which has to be built into that. So, in any event, as I said, I was going to talk a little bit about the expense side of the budget. Here is the budget summarized in 4 sections. What the column shows, the voter-approved budget for 22-23, the proposed draft for 23-24 as it currently stands, it's a 4.14% budget-to-budget increase at the moment. And then what I'm going to focus in on are the arrows, the general support series budget codes, which are 1,000 in the budget, the pupil transportation, which is 5,000, and debt service employee benefits, which is 9,000. Okay, so just quickly so you understand what a budget code is all about, we live by the uniform system of accounts for New York State school districts. So when you look at a budget code, it's built around 4 digits. The beginning is called a function. That's how we spend our money. In this example, 1620 means custodial and building maintenance. That 1620 in a budget here in Bayport means the same thing in Buffalo, all over the state. That's how they collect their information. So the function code 1620 is maintenance. 2110 is in general instruction, and so forth. It's all part of the uniform system of accounts. In terms of the object, that's how we spend the money. So an object code is 3 digits, and it indicates if it begins with a 1, it's a salary. If it's a 2, it's equipment. If it's a 4, it's a contractual. If it's 5, it's materials and supplies. If it's 4-8, it's textbooks. If it's 4-9, it's BOCES. So they're all structured that way. The last the 2-digit location is all local. So we are able to identify our buildings as district-wide, Academy, Blue Point, Sylvan, and so forth. And the program codes in this district, we use the 4-digit end program code to identify the administrator most associated with that budget code. But in other places, it might be 1200, might mean the social studies department. It depends on how every district does that differently. But we don't mess with the functions, we don't mess with the objects. Those we have to follow based on the uniform system of accounts. So here's the list of general support, the 1,000 series, which are basically a lot of our overhead and so forth, but we have our Board of Education, our district clerk, superintendent's office, business office, auditing, attorneys, etc. are all part of it, are all budgeted for in the 1,000 series. And in this chart that I set up, what I'm opening with is the budget function, which is the number, 1010 in this case, which means Board of Education here and Board of Education in Buffalo and anywhere else throughout the state. And what I'm showing it is the adopted budget for 21-22, the actual audited expenditures in 21-22, the adopted budget currently for 22-23, the proposed budget 23-24, the dollar change based on the current budget, and the percentage change. And the comments explain basically what this is all about in this particular section of the budget. So obviously with the Board of Education, it includes their professional memberships and their continuing education and other things that we do that the board has to do. New York Schools, National Suffolk School Boards, New York State School Boards, their memberships and so on are budgeted here. And of course, keep in mind that board members receive no compensation. They just, are leaders in their community, and they get the psychic reward of being on a board. And then, of course, there'd be some changes to the numbers, obviously, and everyone has a story. For the most part, they might be a very minimal change, 2%, 1%, etc. In the case of the district clerk, you notice that is jumping, and it's very clear that the reason for that is because our district clerk became full-time, and the appropriate salary commensurate with that is added to the 23-24 budget. Moving on, we have Dr. Harney's office. You'll also notice that in the comments section where I explain, I also include all the humans that are actually budgeted for here. So, for example, Dr. Harney is 1 FTE, full-time equivalent, and we have 2 clerical. One is actually his administrative assistant, and then there are 2 half-time positions that are just budgeted in his codes. The business office, myself and 5 staff members. Remember, we do a lot of things that are really under the radar. You don't see them every day unless there's something wrong with them. They work very invisibly in terms of accounting and purchasing and employee benefits and all the things that we manage and so forth. Auditing services, again, we have 3 auditing firms. I basically have the numbers that I need to budget each year on a 5-year basis. We have legal services. Again, the increase that you see there, this is basically where I'm just trying to write the budget with what our actual expenditures tend to be, and it varies from year to year. Personnel office, there's an increase in this particular line. A significant increase is because our personnel director has taken on oversight of the special education department with a commensurate salary increase. Records management and so forth is another thing that we do. Operation of plant, this is where we keep our buildings clean and so forth. We have a facilities director, 1.5 clerical support, 29.5 custodians, example. And it's going up basically because our costs are going up for many of these items that we need to do to keep our buildings clean, the equipment we need to buy, the heating and so forth. Maintenance of plant, we have our maintainers, most of those guys are, and gals are, have skills like they might be plumbers and electricians and so forth, and they do a lot of the amazing work in the district, and we have 9 of those. That's coming down not because we're going to stop maintaining our plant, but because we had budgeted $250,000 in 22-23 for the wellness center, and that we're not continuing that into the 23-24 budget. So it's reduced basically for that reason. And then security, we have a complement of 1 full-time person, and then most of our staff is hourly, but we have included additional funding for pre-K security. 16, we have general printing and mailing, central data processing. We have our, in central data processing, basically all of our tech people who make, help run our district from a technology point of view, our network specialists, computer technicians, and the like. Insurance, we have liability insurance like any big business would have, and we are currently been members of the New York Schools Insurance Reciprocal for many years. Most districts in the state have saved a fortune from being part of that because they brought stability to the rates on property casualty insurance and the like. And again, it's up only a little bit. And then we have our BOCES administrative charge, which is basically our assessment to be part of Suffolk County, Eastern Suffolk BOCES. We have to pay our proportionate share of their capital, their buildings, and their administrative overhead. If we do nothing else with BOCES, we would still have this charge. And BOCES is wonderful. We do a lot of things with BOCES. But if we didn't do anything with them, we'd still have this administrative charge. Every school district in their components have to pay this particular assessment based on enrollments. And the total for general support, as you can see, it's going up about $278,000 from the current budget, or 3.25%. In terms of transportation is the 5000 series budget codes. We have district operated transportation, contractual, and BOCES. So as you can see, district operated, we have our own buses. We have 1 transportation director and 5 drivers. We could actually use another driver. We are down 1. And if we had that driver, we would not have to increase contractual right now where we are in terms of the increase. Which is about 22.26%. Because we had to turn 3 routes over to our contract service to provide the services that we would otherwise be able to do if we had our own driver. We could save a significant amount of money. So, but we've been trying to get a driver, and let me tell you something, it is very difficult to get drivers. And it's not only in this district, it's throughout the state. Maybe it's even nationwide, perhaps, that we're seeing it very difficult to do that. For the most part. And then we have some BOCES transportation services. A lot of that is when we use coach buses. We are able to get favorable pricing going through BOCES. But of course, they have the same issues that we have in terms of driver shortages and increased operating costs. So, and if you look at this, at the total for transportation, it's increasing right now about $405,000 or 19.35%. Ultimately, if we can make some adjustments, this is still early in the game. We will definitely try to do that in the process of, arriving at a final budget. Because what we're talking about now is still draft numbers. In terms of employee benefits, debt service, and interfund transfers, employee benefits, the 9,000 series, we have our TRS, our Teachers Retirement System, ERS, Employees Retirement System, health insurance, Social Security, workers' comp, life insurance, unemployment, dental, vision, etc. A lot of this increase is being impacted by health insurance and the new FICA maximum. So, that definitely has impacted us. The health insurance for individuals went up 12.9%, families went up almost 15%, I had to account for that. Plus, I have to guess for a half a fiscal year, where the rates will go from there, because they set them on a calendar basis, but we live on a fiscal year basis. So the 6 months of the year of this budget for 23-24, I only know the first half, because they're set in January. The other half I have to basically estimate, and that's where we are at the moment. Our debt service is schedule-wise. It's our bond principal and interest payments are right off the schedule, except that I needed to do two things. One is I had to add $325,000 for tax anticipation note borrowing. We borrow money in anticipation of taxes before the money starts to flow from actually taxes, but we have to have by, I'd say, September, October, we start running into cash flow problems, so we have to be ready to borrow because the tax money doesn't flow till December and January. So when we borrow that money, the interest cost, when interest rates were low, and it was only about 2 years ago, where a borrowing like this would cost us $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. This year, when we went out to borrow $17,500,000 for cash flow, it cost us about $400,000. So we need to be ready with that. So I increased the TAN. And also, I mentioned that the energy performance contract that we're going to be engaging in now this year, we'll be faced with an interest cost of $440,000. I've been working with bond counsel and with our fiscal advisors about what to do about that, and we ultimately landed on a number of $440,000 is a reasonable number to include. So that's part of what's driving the debt service. So most of the debt service we know. It's principal and interest on debt that we know we're going to pay off for the next few years. It's like a mortgage. You know your principal number, you know your interest number. But until this is actually set, someday the energy and performance contract, the savings will offset the costs. But at the moment, it's just really startup, if you will. And then, of course, interfund transfer. Two things are in the interfund transfer. The summer special ed, which is really about $100,000, and our transfer to capital, which we started last year when we wanted to do the field lights. So we built into that area of the budget $1,011,700 for field lights, and the other amount was for special ed, summer special ed. Right now, at the moment, I have budgeted $100,000 for special ed, because we're pretty much that's about 20% of our cost, give or take, which is a reasonable number. And then I have a $500,000 for transfer to capital. If all things had been equal, we had $1 million there. If all things had been equal and other things weren't increasing the budget, like health insurance, like FICA, like the additional $440,000 of interest on the EPC, I might have been able to hold that. We still might be able to circle back and add more to it. It just depends on where we land on other things. Some of the things that we're considering that are added to this budget now, this draft, might be adjusted down. So it just really depends, because we're early in the process. Right now, we're at a 4.14% budget-to-budget increase. But it does have some enhancements, including the 440. This is our synopsis of the last 13 years in terms of budget to budget and tax levy. You'll recall that the budget that we're living right now, we increased that for the lights, but we had the offsetting revenue on the tax side to be able to keep the tax levy at 3.49, it's pretty. And if you look at the averages over 13 years, they're pretty straightforward, they don't jump off the page. They're pretty reasonable. 2.3 over the past 13 years budget to budget increase, and 2.76 on tax levy, and it's maintained all our programs and services. All the things we know and love about the district have always been included in these budgets. So we're not suffering in that regard. This is our 13 going into 14, where we will fall out in terms of budget to budget, and tax levy are things we'll be working on as we proceed in the process. Ultimately, as you can see, this is under construction. This is where our revenue side. Whenever you come up with an expenditure side of the budget, you have to come up with a revenue side. You have to be in balance, period. No excuses. So we'll have a tax levy number. Our state aid, hopefully we'll have more information on February 7th about what that looks like. Because that's a significant piece. Obviously, tax levies are our biggest piece of revenue. State aid is the second largest. All other revenues are some of our miscellaneous. Our appropriated fund balance is going to drop because now we have that, we already used that $11,000 for the lights. That's moved out. So when we appropriate fund balance, it won't be quite as high. And transfer to reserves and such. But ultimately, at the end of the day, whatever we come up with on the expense side in terms of a dollar increase and a percentage increase, we have to have that same thing on the revenue side. This is one possible scenario. This is if we budgeted. For example, if we took the tax levy number, I said that the cap could be 3.94% and be in compliance with the tax cap. In this scenario, I'm showing that we actually did that. I assumed maybe $200,000 increase in state aid. Maybe, who knows? We may see more, we may see less. All other revenues, I've done an analysis on that, and I feel I could increase it a little bit. The appropriated fund balance will decrease because the $1,011,000 is not there. But I added $200,000 to it because we usually put $1,684,000 into appropriated fund balance, and then using some of the reserves, if we needed them, we'd have them there to help us. On February 7th, we'll begin the review of the 2000 series budget functions, which are all instruction. So I'm able to isolate. We did the 1,000, which is general support, the 5,000 transportation, 9,000 debt service and employee benefits, and then we'll just focus in on instruction, which is really what we do. That's what our business is all about, and you'll get a chance to see those things too. And we'll talk more about, hopefully, information will be available about the state budget and state aid. Questions?
Open it up to trustees for any questions. Any community members? Mr. Frontier, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Truly appreciate it.
Delighted.
Moving on to the consent agenda, are there any items the board would like to remove the consent agenda and place on the regular agenda? Not hearing any, can I have a motion to approve consent agenda items F, G, H, I, J, and K? Mr. Johnson, second. Ms. Saron, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. Moving on to the regular agenda, we have a motion to gratefully accept a donation from the Academy Street Elementary PTA for $34.60 for office supplies. Ms. Conlon, second. Mr. Pinataro, any discussion? As always, thank you so much. We truly appreciate any donation. So thank you so much to the PTA for all that you do. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Moving on to the second one. This is the second reading of 3 policies, all in one. Can I have a motion to accept policy 5152, admission of non-resident students, policy 5312.1, school alcohol, drugs, and other controlled substances, use and abuse, and policy 8115, pesticides and pest management. Ms. Pinataro, second.
Second.
Ms. Conley, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. Moving on to our last agenda item of the night, can I have a motion to gratefully approve first reading of policy 4321, students with disabilities, policy 4321.9, use of timeout rooms, policy 4321.10, programs and services for parentally placed non-public school students with disabilities, policy 4321.11, public report on revisions to district policies, practices, and procedures upon finding a significant district quarterly policy. Policy 4321.14, special ed personnel, and our last policy, policy 5150, school admission and residency requirements. Ms. Rowan, second. Ms. Pignataro, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. At this time, we open it up to the community members for any new or old business. Not hearing any, we'll open up to the trustees. Ms. Conner?
Dr. Harney touched on this earlier, but I also wanted to congratulate and thank the jazz musicians who performed at Jazz Night. These are not classes, they are extracurricular activities that the students spend their time honing their musical abilities, and it was just a fantastic night for middle and high school musicians. And also I wanted to congratulate our students who participated in LISPA this weekend. That's the Long Island String Festival Association. I believe we had 6 musicians attend, and I was able to go to the 6th grade concert, and it blew my mind that these 11 and 12-year-old musicians practiced together twice as an ensemble and really put forth professional level sound. So congratulations to them, and thank you to our music teachers.
Thank you so much. Any other trustees? Just a reminder of the musical, the next board meeting will be here in the cafeteria. Not hearing anything else, can I have a motion to adjourn? Ms. Conlon, second. Ms. Saron, all in favor? Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. Have a good night, guys. We'll see you soon.